that way everybody kind of blends into the race, so that way it's not a free-for-all at the very beginning. So you see some lanes have 2 athletes. They have to stay in their lane until they hit the blend line here that they'll hit in about 50 meters.
The meet record again was set by Taylor last year at 9 minutes and just shy of 5 seconds. The best time of the schools that have recorded a time, and 3 schools have not recorded a time in this event during the course of the season, but the best time belongs to St. Francis at just north of 9 minutes and 30 seconds.
That's about 5 seconds to the good of the next fastest time, which is Goshen. But Mount Vernon Nazarene, all the other teams set their best time this season at the Indiana Little State Championships earlier this year, back on April 20th.
So an outstanding start for Taylor. This is lap 1, a second lap, and then the handoffs begin. Grace in second. Marion is in third.
So again, this is basically 4 800-meter races in one relay here for each of these athletes. And so each athlete is basically given a job. You know, you have one athlete maybe pushing the pace a little bit here. Clearly, Taylor is wanting to do that. Again, they're only the 3rd fastest team all season long in this event, but they're pushing the pace at the get-go here to maybe try and get themselves in, for lack of a better word, track position that you might hear in auto racing a lot. A lot of this is about track position in the relay.
Brookstead-Nicky, again, is the opening leg for Taylor. A good second lap being run here by Grace. Heather Plasto is the racer that is trying to track down Studnicki here in lane number 1.
So now here's where you feel the lactic acid really kick in if you're one of these athletes. But a good opening leg here, and well run there by Grace to come out here with the early lead here going to the first exchange.
Goshen checking in at number 3. So those schools out to fantastic starts. It is Marion that will give the handoff 4th. St. Francis, Indiana Wesleyan, Mount Vernon Nazarene has made their handoff.
And the interesting thing enough here, Greg, is obviously right now with Grace kind of holding the fort down at front. They have yet to actually have any time recorded this season in the 4x8, so they have not had a really good chance to get a relay going down. So this is the first time we've really been able to see these athletes put together a 4x8.
Tara Friesen is the second leg for Grace. Emily Johnson, the second leg for Taylor. And for Goshen, Annika Fisher is their second leg. There's Lokinger for Marion in the second leg there. So obviously, there's some space between teams that are 1, 2, 3, 4, but then a more significant gap going to St. Francis, who currently is in 5th. Yami Diaz has the second leg for St. Francis. Huntington starting to make some progress in terms of tracking down the runner in that kind of secondary pack of this group. That is Emily Tedder, who runs the second leg. It's Grace 1, Taylor 2, and Goshen 3. Frankly, there's a pretty succinct gap between all 4 of those top 4.
And if you're one of those competitors behind right now, you just kind of use the runner in front as a rabbit, but also you have to make sure that you're running within your strategy now. So you get your team in the perfect position, but it's these next 2 legs now who are really in other words, they're the money grabbers now. They've got to really try and reel it in and use the cards that they have to try and get in a position for the final leg.
By the way, Huntington has secured 5th place of this group as we hit the halfway point. So for Grace, Anna Holstedt runs the 3rd leg. For Taylor, Caitlin Burden, now the 3rd leg. Mercy Chebet has the 3rd leg for Goshen. Katie Woods, the 3rd leg for Marion. Mount Vernon Nazarene currently in 6th. St. Francis in 7th. Stewart running the 7th leg for St. Francis.
Really good start to this leg right here for Grace. They've already opened about maybe a 50-meter gap based off of, and that was based off of a really good exchange as well. They got deep into the exchange zone. They used the real estate that they had, and now Grace is in an excellent position here. And now Taylor, they're kind of flat going through this third leg.
Well, I think at this juncture, it would take something pretty substantial for Grace to not be your winner in this 4x800. And that is with, well, another 1,200 meters left to compete. We'll try to do our best to kind of eyeball timing as Holstead hits the start-finish line at approximately 5:37. The race clearly is going to be more for second, third, and fourth. Burden hits the start-finish line 9 seconds in arrears of Holstead for Grace.
Well, right now, Grace is pacing to be the fastest relay so far this season.
St. Francis, Indiana Wesleyan, Spring Arbor, kind of rounding out the back end of this group.
So now coming to this final exchange, and again, this is pretty demoralizing if you're any of the other competitors. Also, it's also kind of it's a little bit demoralizing into the fact that you didn't really know how good Grace was coming into this meet because they didn't have a time on any of the sites or even anything else for that matter. So you don't exactly have perspective on what you're working with right here. So Grace is really, for lack of a better word, I mean, it's not surprising based on how the athletes have been running so far, but it's just a heck of a performance right now here from Grace.
So Kylie Souter will run for Grace.
And Kylie Souter, that is exactly who you want running that anchor leg here for Grace.
So Marion makes the handoff next. They're currently in fourth. But to put it in perspective, basically almost a quarter of the track lead, say from 1 through 5th, an entire back straight from simply first to second. So it is Taylor 2, Goshen 3, Marion 4. And again, not surprisingly, with Addy Wiley running the anchor for Huntington, she's going to make up some ground. She has already caught the Marion runner that is currently in fourth. It's Mount Vernon Nazarene that checks in at 6. We've already seen the Grace competitor. That's a competitor she is lapping basically here, as Spring Arbor and Bethel have yet to make their handoff to their final athlete.
So Kylie Souter here hitting the bell lap. And basically, yeah, Souter, the sophomore right now, best time this season in the individual 800 at 2:11. But still, you've got to keep watching Addy Wiley right now here for Huntington. She is putting on the afterburners. Now, remember, she hasn't run an individual 800. She's only been doing the relays for Huntington this year, but still, she is one of the better 1,500-meter runners that we'll see a lot more of tomorrow. But this is a good little prequel of what we can see from her right now. But still, an excellent leg being run here by Souter as they go through the final 200.
Emma Muterspa is running the second leg for for Huntington, it is Wiley. And then for Goshen, it is Summer Cooper. So right now it's Taylor 2, Goshen 3, Huntington 4. Again, Grace is going to win it. We'll kind of monitor the time. Again, the record for the meet is just shy of 9:05. And there is a chance that that number is going to get beat.
It's going to get beat.
So Grace will finish at just past 9 minutes. That's a new meet record at just shy of 9:02. Wiley has just passed the runner in second for Taylor. So Huntington will finish in second. Taylor will finish in third. Goshen will finish fourth. And then Marion will finish